Okay, we finally got to the point where I guess we have to talk about strategy. And this point that I brought up in the previous video, never improve a part of the system unless it also improves the whole. I continue to find that a golden rule that one should attempt not to violate, because sooner or later it gets you in trouble. Even when you think you have, in fact, figured out how to enhance a part of the system that doesn't enhance the rest of it, you're very likely to find out downstream that the whole operation has, in fact, gotten worse. The other thing is to take a, what is it, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results. It's often, I find, very good to take a component from the Monty Python playbook. It's called "And Now for Something Completely Different." In this situation, it would be very easy for management to simply continue to believe that the whole problem is just because the accounts receivable people can't do their job, and in a couple of months it can fire the new 3 people and hire another 3 people. I don't expect that's likely to change the situation. They could, in fact, change the percentage ordering discount, the threshold, so that maybe the customers wouldn't order quite so much at once. But considering what we've understood about the reality of the market and the customers and their business, that's probably not going to help either. And the beating up on the sales department is not likely to produce any meaningful result in terms of continuing to push them to meet their sales goals, which would mean they would just try to sell more stuff to customers that wouldn't have need for it in the short term, so that it would lengthen their reorder period even further. So what I find is that if you develop a strategy that's equivalent to trying to make water run uphill, you're probably not going to be very successful. You want a strategy that results in a pull forward, as opposed to something that you have to push on an endless basis, because that's after a while you're going to get tired of pushing and things aren't going to work anywhere. And the pull situation here begins with the customer. The customer is the one that the customer ought to be the reason that you're in business, that BB Big Box Distributor is in business to begin with, so that the strategy for how to improve the situation should in fact begin with the customer and allow them to pull the strategy forward. And they have continued to say that currently they're placing large orders because of the discount threshold that Big Box Distributor has established, and they don't reorder frequently because of the downturn in their market. So, because the company believes that it stands to improve its profit margin substantially if it could in fact reduce the accounts receivable period, even with all other things staying the same, then the first thought is that suppose that we allow the customer to order as they have been paying, but allow them to pay on a weekly basis over a period of 8 weeks. If you sit down and figure that out with a pencil and piece of paper, it ends out that doing that actually cuts the average accounts receivable period by 42%. And management said that they would be happy if you cut it from 53 days to 51 days. They should be rather elated if you could cut it from 53 days to 23 days. So by offering a payment plan and reducing the average accounts receivable period by 42%, that accomplishes the initial objective, which is to in fact reduce the accounts receivable period, which reduces the carrying costs, which increases the profits, which should in fact encourage the company to simply offer additional discounts. And if you offer additional discounts to the company, maybe they could in fact leverage that to improving their business somewhat, even in a down market. One way or the other, what we do end up with here is a reinforcing loop as opposed to a balancing loop, where continuing to run this cycle encourages one to do more of the same, so that if you can in fact offer the discount plan, and the customer is willing to do that and pay periodically, continue to order as they are, this will reduce the AR period, decreasing the carrying cost, increasing the profit, so that the company should in fact allow them to an additional discount for agreeing to pay on a weekly basis, based upon the premise that what management said, or the finance people said initially, that this would in fact create a substantial improvement in the profits of the organization. So if by offering additional discounts, that would in fact improve sales ability to sell, which would improve revenues, which would improve profits, and we end up with another reinforcing loop, so that rather than having two balancing structures operating counter purposes to each other, we end up with two reinforcing structures, both moving the whole structure in a direction that we in fact want it to move in. So it's the right thing being reinforced by more of the right thing. Though we end up at a point where all of the investigation to this point has been a qualitative perspective on a set of interactions to actually figure out what might be an appropriate discount plan and payment period, and the impact that that's likely to have on accounts receivable and carrying cost and profit, and the extent to which it might improve the ability for sales to sell product and increase revenue. We're looking at a situation that requires a simulation model as opposed to just a qualitative evaluation of the interactions. And that's something that I don't intend to include in this particular example, though I expect that it will get included in one of the examples in the future. So this is the last segment of the accounts receivable period reduction series. I will do one more video which is sort of a summary of the whole thing, but I hope that you have found the series informative in terms of how to investigate a situation from a systemic perspective, look at the stakeholders involved, develop the model, identify the leverage points, and craft a strategy that then needs to be evaluated and then adopted. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.